going to now demonstrate doing the splatter effect for acid dye. This is probably one of the most common acid wash techniques that you find when you look for how to do it yourself on YouTube. So I'm not really adding much new to this conversation. So of course, I'm going to start with putting on my gloves, safety first. And I've already pre-mixed a little bit of bleach and water. I actually did a 2-to-1 ratio, 2-to-1 ratio of water to bleach. So it's a little bit stronger than I normally recommend. I don't like going stronger than 4-to-1 for most cases because the smell, as well as I'd rather have control over how fast I pull. So because once you pull out the dye from the denim, you have to add it back by re-dyeing it. So I would rather pull less and pull more controlled to get my desired results. So I'm gonna put my tub, it's got a little bit of water in it. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna put my piece of denim in the tub. It's okay. Like I said, there's already some water in it. And I have here in my little cup a 2-to-1 bleach to water ratio, or water to bleach ratio. So I'm gonna do it with using a sponge as well as with using a paintbrush. I heard that many of you are painters, so I'm assuming you have paintbrushes that you can use for this technique. Oftentimes I've seen it done with squirt bottles, and you can absolutely do that if you want. I just don't have an extra squirt bottle to use for this. And I found the sponge works just fine. So what I do is I get the sponge nice and loaded with the 2-to-1. And then I'm going to, this is pretty thick. I need to get really heavy drops because if I just put very light little splatters, especially with the bleach dilute, I'm not going to get a lot of pulling. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my sponge again and come over here. You can of course go a little bit slower and get more controlled dots, like maybe fill your sponge with less and get more controlled splatters like so. The larger ones tend to give like more of a cloud effect, which I find really beautiful. So we're gonna have some larger splatters on this one. You can already start to see some lift here, here, here. So it's anywhere that the bleach was a higher ratio, we're gonna really start to see some lift. So yeah, I'm really seeing some lift here. I can also go in with my paintbrush and add more smaller splatters. Again, it needs to be a little bit heavier because of the ratio for it to really lift. But again, this is your project. You can do it as controlled or as uncontrolled as you'd like. So I'm going to get my fabric pretty wet here, and then I'm going to give it about 10 minutes. And I might have to go in again and add a little bit more because it may only pull right here, right here, right here. And even though these areas are dark, it may not pull because, like I said, this is a diluted bleach. So I may have to go back and add more. So I'm going to go ahead and give this about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to be right back. Maybe check on it in 5 minutes because this is really pulling quickly, just to be sure. And if things are pulling too quickly, you can always, especially if you're using a tub, just run it underwater. And then as soon as you run it underwater, you're basically diluting the bleach so it won't continue to pull. So we'll check back here in about 10 minutes.